In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold. The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Hey, welcome to the Abracast. I'm your host, Dr. John Towers. We have a lot to get through today. We got a lot to get through today, and barring any catastrophic equipment failures, I think we're going to do it. And I'd like, for the record, just to add that this is the fourth week in a row that we have stuck to kind of our schedule, plus a bonus episode. So, we feel like we're getting back on track. If I'm preaching to the choir or I'm talking to people, it seems like a pointless discussion. The world's moving so quickly today. Events are happening so fast. At least we can share stories together, and that doesn't work. At least I'm tracking the demise of Western civilization. That being said, I got my pen here, and I got my vessel of the art, and I got my it's filled with my gin jihad. And this evening we're going to be talking about, it's tentatively titled The American Coup. I don't know, it should be The American Coups, as in more than one. But we're going to be talking a little bit, putting in perspective what is going on with the Democratic, I don't even want to say primary. It's not even a primary. The Democratic candidates, maybe. I'm still not 100% convinced, because once all this honeymoon stuff is over and she gets to talking, I believe it's going to go downhill very, very quickly. And so anyhow, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be putting what happened to Joe Biden in a little bit of context. As a reminder, we are not unqualified to talk about Joe Biden. We've done many, many episodes documenting Joe Biden, like his wild plagiarism and lies and corn pop and his racism and what else? Oh, his disastrous foreign policy that reaches back to the 70s, man. And that was the eternal recurrence of Joe Biden, I think. So, if you're interested in my take on Joe Biden, you go back and find all those episodes. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit about social media mind control, which is something that we are also not unqualified to talk about. We've done many amazing episodes on how social media mind controls you. So we're going to get into this little fascist public-private partnership business between the White House and social media and what it did. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Let's get this party started. This is a kind of like an interdisciplinary episode. So we're talking about, I don't need extra dimensions and fucking UFOs and hidden space fleets. The world is weird enough. The world is weird enough. So we're going to be talking about conspiracy. 100%. What is a conspiracy? It's when a couple people get together and they make a plan to fuck people over. we're going to be talking a lot about a conspiracy tonight. We're going to be talking a lot about conspiracies this evening. Oh, God. Why did I do that to myself? All right. So we're going to NPR, of all fucking places. Joe Biden's long and rocky road to the Democratic nomination. But wait, he didn't get nominated. This is from 2020. August 16th, a guy named Ron Elving. When former Vice President Joseph Biden Jr., Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., the Bidenettes, or the Robinettes were the slave owners, if you're wondering. When former Vice President Joseph Biden Jr. becomes the Democratic Party's official nominee for president on Thursday, he will complete two historic, improbable comebacks. Earlier this year, Biden rose from roadkill status in early February, voting to effectively claim the nomination by the end of March. 2020 was far from the first time the Biden bid for the White House. His nomination realizes the dream of recurrent campaign firsts launched more than 3 decades ago in another political era, in another century. No other major party nominee has reached this plateau so many years after their first formal candidacy. Most Americans know Biden as the number 2. Who served 8 years under Barack Obama. They may know that Biden's previously had been high-profile 6-term senator from Delaware, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and then the Foreign Relations Committee. Fewer may recall that Biden eulogized Ku Klux Klanmen. Oh, wait, hold on, wait. Hold on. Fewer may recall that Biden was also a candidate for president in 2008, dropping out after finishing 5th in the Iowa caucus. Fewer yet remember Biden's brilliant flameout in 87 when he was among the early favorites for the 1988 nomination. And fewer even knew that Biden flirted with the campaign as far back as 84, which he actually received 1 delegate's vote at the national convention. Back in 2020, I believe Kamala Harris also received 1 vote. But that was even before Iowa. I believe she got 1 delegate on her side before Iowa and dropped out because she's a mess. It's an abysmal mess that you guys have found yourselves in, and it couldn't happen to a nicer fucking group of people. Biden is also mentioned as a potential candidate in more recent cycles, notably 2016 as Obama's vice president. Biden might as well have been competitive with Hillary Clinton, the eventual nominee. He publicly considered a run in 2015, but stepped back after his son Beau died of cancer in May. He made his announcement in October, but several months later said that he regretted not running every day. I have 2 things to say about this. He did not run in 2015. It's my speculation because he would be running against Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton knows where all his bodies are buried. Hillary Clinton is a viper, and she would have, well, I'm just going to say it, she would have murdered him. Politically, if not politically, she would have fucking literally murdered him. Second of all, this here says that Joe Biden's son Beau died of cancer. I don't think Biden knows that because he keeps saying that he died in Iraq. So, I mean, just, also, I just need to point out, it just occurred to me that the title of this article is Joe Biden's long and rocky road to the Democratic nomination, and I want to know if this is an inside joke from 2020, because we all know how much he loves ice cream now. it's like I get home from a long hard day at work and I pour myself a drink and I get stoned and I relax, and Joe Biden's like, I come home at 2:30 and have some ice cream and get tucked into bed. I'm not here just to shit on this guy. Actually, I am. I don't care for him at all. A rough start to 2020, but that's not to say that there is not lessons to be learned in this group of stories that I've collected. this is coming from a group of people that say we want to preserve democracy. We want to save democracy. How'd your primary work out? All that democratic democracy happening. Rough start to 2020. What people do remember is that Biden began the current presidential cycle as a Democrat's punitive front runner, that he stumbled along the way and he nearly washed out early. This part of the episode, we're going to be talking about why he didn't wash out early and actually how he wound up winning his nomination. I can give you a hint. It's a conspiracy. The Real Clear Politics average of polls showed him leading but not dominating the field throughout 2019, in a field that at one point teamed with more than 20 other hopefuls. Biden's polling rarely surpassed 30%. He struggled at times in the debates. He was caught in the crossfire from rivals, including the one who is now his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris of California. In the very first debate last year, her jab that Biden stand on school busing in the 70s, that little girl was me, gave her fledgling campaign a bump. It also left a bitter taste with some of Biden's closest advisors that would hinder but not prevent her from joining the ticket. Now, that jibe, that they're not really explaining it, I guess. She's basically calling Joe Biden a racist. She called him a racist because of his stance on busing inner city kids. As the debate ground on and the impeachment proceedings in Washington diverted media attention, Biden struggled to break away from the field when his main challenger, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, had a heart attack in October, and some of Sanders' backers gravitated towards Senator Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren of Massachusetts and other candidates, but not Biden. This is the crux of the problem. Bernie Sanders folks went to Pocahontas and everyone started freaking out. So, again, completely unelectable female, completely. I don't think her being a female has much to do about it, but I was trying really hard not to call her a bitch. By the end of the Iowa caucuses on February 3rd, Biden found himself and also ran, just as in 2008. It was an upstart candidate, Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who shared the winner's circle with Sanders, but finished fourth. Again, also completely unelectable man-child. Sanders and Buttigieg again virtually tied in New Hampshire primary on February 11th. Biden came in fifth, the choice of only 1 out of every 12 voters. As Sanders and Buttigieg dueled for delegates, it was Sanders who got the biggest boost from the polls. His coincided with his big win in February 22nd of Nevada caucuses, which were avowed Democratic socialist, showed strong appeal among Hispanic voters and got nearly half of the voters overall. Media reports were routinely referring to him as the front runner. Again, the problem with Bernie Sanders is he was unelectable at that time. In 2020, he was unelectable. You can't run as a socialist in 2020. It would have never worked. The Democratic Party has not degenerated to the point of mass lunacy, which we see today, where, Kamala Harris just, the slogan for her and Tim's campaign might as well be like, hey, we're all I don't know. Socialism is great. It just hasn't been tried enough. What's another couple million people dying? What's that all about? Who cares? But to my point, the world is so crazy and on fire, and everybody's stupid now. Now it's kind of more acceptable. Poor Bernie Sanders. He was born in the wrong century, right? But Biden stayed alive in Nevada, finishing second with 20%. It was enough to carry him to South Carolina and redemption. So this is the Clyburn factor. Clyburn's crucial contribution. South Carolina's first in the South primary matters in the Democratic contest because it's the first event where the African American voters with whom Biden had residual appeal as Obama's vice president carry outsized influence. The attention turned to the Palmetto State. The senior office holder, James Clyburn, the highest ranking black member of Congress as the House Majority Whip, announced his endorsement of Biden. So the Democrats got together and they were like, we can't have Pocahontas, we can't have Senator Marks from Virginia, Stalin, the Stalinist from Virginia, and we can't have little baby boy Pete Buttigieg. We've got to have Biden, and this is how we're going to do it. Alternatively, I believe this is why we got Kamala Harris. You know, before he chose his running mate, Biden was like, I promise you it's going to be a woman of color. And I believe that was part of the trade. If you don't think that trades happen, I don't know what to say. This kind of horse trading, I believe, happens all the time. Clyburn's backing all but guaranteed Biden would carry the black vote. But it did more than that. It created the first real groundswell of energy for his campaign in months. Remember, Biden himself says, "Hey, man, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black." Remember, he told that Charlemagne the dog guy. He told him that right on his radio. I guess it's a radio program. It created. I already read that part. Biden won the black vote overwhelmingly, especially among women, fueling a blowout that saw his vote share and Sanders reversed from the Nevada tally. But the biggest event of the year to date, Biden got nearly half of the vote and Sanders a fifth. No other candidate got enough to earn a delegate. With Super Tuesday looming, both Buttigieg and Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar dropped out and endorsed Biden. They said that he was the candidate most likely to beat President Trump, which was the criteria most often cited as crucial by Democrats. Warren remained in the hunt, but barely remained in the hunt. She was counting coup. Hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya? But barely giving Biden the one-on-one match with Sanders that he had been wanting. Okay, well, how do you know that? After Nevada, Sanders had been poised to win most of the 14 states voting in the March 3rd Super Tuesday contest, but South Carolina shifted the momentum. Sanders won in California, Colorado, Utah, and his home state of Vermont. Biden swept the rest, including Texas, 5 other southern states where he won at least 55% of the votes among African Americans, all due to James Clyburn. The shift in momentum dimmed Sanders' hopes for recovery in states where he had done well in 2016, such as Missouri, Michigan, and Washington. After Wisconsin joined that list on April 7th, Sanders dropped out. Within a week, he endorsed Biden, and within a week after that, he had a brand new mansion. He had a brand new giant home. I wonder how that worked. In the 4 months since, as other states have held their nominating events, Biden has continued to reap the delegate harvest essentially unopposed, while the coronavirus was limited his campaigning to remote events and interviews from his home in Wilmington, Delaware. Remember that? The basement campaign, they called it. Biden, man, he was just showing us how vital he was back then. Gradually risen in the polls and built a lead over the incumbent president that stood at 11 points in the latest NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll released on Friday. The trend that continued despite Biden's relative inactivity, driven less by the Democrat than by the Trump controversies. Essentially his handling of the virus and the economic fallout and the widespread racial unrest followed the killing of George Floyd by, fentanyl. We're just going to say the killing of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis. All right. February was not the first time. All right, I think we got the picture here. We got the picture that I wanted to paint. So we're going to move on. Like I said, we got a lot. I'm already running out of time, I think. But link will be in the show notes if you want to finish that episode. This article. And we'll get back to it after this. Now we go to NBCnews.com. God, I'm really digging at the bottom of the barrel here. Representative Jim Clyburn helped Biden win young black voters in 2020. This time, they're not listening. So I've had a bunch of sort of anecdotal data regarding this, just in my personal, life or whatever. Invariably, if I'm watching videos on YouTube, which I do a lot, I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't know if it's my algorithm. I'm sure it is. The Creepy Line. If you haven't seen The Creepy Line, go find it. It's a documentary. And we're going to be talking about it later. But invariably, there's black YouTubers who I've watched turn pro Trump, and it's amazing. It's amazing. One of my favorite kind of things that have happened is, there was that lady at the Atlanta Trump rally. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out. It's amazing. But the way that black dudes have been flocking to Trump since he got shot is it's wild, man. It's wild. I hear them say things like, "Hey, Trump is being persecuted like a black person. I can finally I can understand what he's going through, because of all this lawfare stuff." And my absolute favorite thing, my wife could tell you about it because I've been watching it over and over again, is the 50 sorry Mr. Cent, the 50 Cent song "Many Men." Someone cut a bunch of Trump stuff to it, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Anyhow, that's probably just my algorithm. It's probably just feeding me bullshit that I like or whatever. But I have a feeling I'm seeing it, in real time. Black folks coming around to conservatism, which is awesome. They should have been here all along. This is something I'm sure I've talked about this before in the show. Fucking LBJ is the fucking Bond villain. His political moves with the black family, sinister and fucking soul crushingly evil. So, I'm just saying, welcome aboard, guys. Welcome aboard, bros. Let's go. NBC.com. Representative James Clyburn helped Biden win young black voters in 2020. This time, they are not listening. Clyburn, Democrat, South Carolina, has been campaigning for Biden ahead of the South Carolina primary, and his frustration with young voters is palpable. Sumter, South Carolina Representative Jim Clyburn was preaching to the choir in every sense. Clyburn was a guest speaker at a black church here on a recent Sunday, telling his audience that a certain candidate for higher office deserves to lose. He didn't mention Donald Trump's by name, but it was clear who he meant. Okay, well, I guess he won't get in trouble for using the church for politics then. The Democratic congressman from South Carolina rattled off a list of ways Trump has insulted black Americans over the years. Sitting in pews, largely middle-aged and older congregants applauded the message. The trouble for Clyburn, who is 83 years old, when will these people just fucking get out of politics? This guy's fucking 83. These hippies are really going to fucking run this country in the ground before they die. Man, this is fucking it. Is the people he most needs to hear him weren't the ones listening. Well, first of all, let's just take this paragraph back to the beginning. The Democratic congressman from South Carolina rattled off a list of ways Trump has insulted black Americans over the years. Has he done the same thing for Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden has said some fucking crazy racist shit over the years. And, by the way, breaking news, no one's heard this before, he eulogized the Klansmen. Everybody, hey everybody, he eulogized the Klansmen. It's fucking, you can't write. We're living in clown world. Like, nothing is real. Everything in the news is, nothing is real. The next day, Clyburn cast an early vote for President Joe Biden in South Carolina's Democrat primary. He held the news conference afterwards and laid out all the stakes. Look, do you want an old white racist to be president? Yes, we do. What do you want this country to be led by someone who time and time again demonstrates misogynistic tendencies? We'll talk to Tara Reid about the misogynistic tendencies of Joe Biden. Talk to Joe Biden's 13-year-old daughter well, she's not 13 anymore, but when she was 13, say, hey, how misogynistic do you think your dad was? How weird is it to shower with your daughter when she's 13 years old? Newsflash, everybody, it's pretty fucking weird. I don't have any kids, but I can imagine it's weird, so take that as you may. And racist attitudes. You know, like making fun of 7-Eleven workers. Putting on fake accents for 7-Eleven workers. Who did... Calling young black men super predators. Does that sound like a racist attitude? We've talked about it on the show. Go back. He said standing outside the polling place on a blustery morning. You know, you can't politic at polling places, by the way. That's illegal. You can't, what do they call it? Electioneering. You can't electioneer at a polling place, by the way. You can answer exit poll questions and get the fuck out of the way. That's what you're supposed to do. On a blustery morning in Orangeburg. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? We got to get these... I shouldn't be saying this because I'm getting to be an old fuck too, but we got to get these old fuckers out of here. 83 years old? Are you fucking kidding me? Without Clyburn there, might have never been a Biden presidency, as we've just talked about in 2020. His endorsements revived Biden's flailing campaign. Clyburn cemented Biden's status as the favorite of black voters, helping him win in South Carolina primary and vaulting him to the party nomination. Now, polling shows that young black voters are peeling away from Biden in numbers that worry Democratic officials. Clyburn, for his part, sounds indignant. So if I were writing this article, I'm not a journalist, but if I was writing this article, I would have put, now polling shows that young black voters are running to Donald Trump in numbers that worry Democratic officials. Because I don't think they're peeling away from Biden. I think they're running towards Trump. Maybe I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Oh, sorry. Actually, my glass is actually half empty right now. To compare Biden's history to Trump's, he says, Trump has demeaned black Americans for decades, like calling them super predators. That's not demeaning. He adds, while Biden has compiled a record rivaling that of Lyndon Johnson's, quote, Great Society, unquote. I'm sure we've talked about the Great Society at some point in time. I have such strong feelings about what Lyndon Johnson did to this fucking country. And his villainy of young black voters who have grown disenchanted with Biden, Clyburn says. I want them to stand in front of me and tell me they will support that Trump record over Joe Biden's record. I think the records both speak for themselves. I urge you all to go back and listen to my old Joe Biden episodes. NBC News polling in 2023 found that black voters overall favored Biden over Trump 73 to 17%. But when it came to voters under the age of 34, that margin shrank among that slice of the black electorate. Biden's support fell 60%. Trump's rose 28% in 2020. Biden won 87% of black votes, including 89% of black voters under 29 and 78% of those 30 to 44. I want to know the percentage of dead black voters voted for Biden in 2020. That's really the important part, I think, of this whole thing, isn't it? Any slippage from Biden's base could prove disastrous in another tight election. In 2020, Biden's victory rested on fewer than 43,000 votes in just 3 states: Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. Clyburn is giving speeches and interviews warning black voters of what it means if they forsake Biden and allow Trump to reclaim power. Ultimate power. He starts by reminding voters of Trump's condemnation in 1989 of the Central Park Five, the minority teenagers who were wrongly convicted of raping a woman who have been jogging in Central Park. First of all, this is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. If you go back and you watch the Central Park Five interrogation tapes, those teenagers were clearly there. They were clearly a part of whatever happened to this lady. And they all got let loose. They all got let loose because of some DNA evidence that did not exclude them. Their own testimony, clearly they were there. Clearly. They all were there. They all know something more, you know. If you drop me off, I've never been to Central Park. I've never been to New York City. But if you drop me off in Central Park, between my research of the Central Park Five and the old Spider-Man 2 video game on Sony PlayStation, I could find my way out of Central Park and probably out of New York, just based on those two data points. When then came Trump's role in the birther conspiracy that falsely questioned Barack Obama's U.S. citizenship. From there, Clyburn's cites Trump's false claims that black female poll workers in Georgia in 2020 was a hustler and a professional vote scammer. I don't know anything about this particular episode that he's talking about. I just hope that in 2024 we are not going to find ourselves as a country falling into what Germany fell into in 1932, he added, referring to a period when the Nazis came to power. So this article was written by an idiot, or for idiots. Trump's campaign did not respond to a request for comment of Clyburn's critique, and he described himself as the least racist person. I'm a tremendous person. I'm the best. Least racist person, ask anybody. That's what he said. So, I mean, I'm not going to just be arguing with an article for the rest of the night. I'm just not down to do that. So, maybe I could go a little bit further. God damn, this is long. That's what she said. Goodies in return for votes. Clyburn's argument rests on a simple premises. Young black voters need to appreciate that 2024 election is a choice that leaves them no practical options other than to vote for Biden. Here he goes again with Johnson. No president has produced a better record since Johnson enacted the civil rights and the anti-poverty programs of the 1960s. I feel bad for James Clyburn because obviously he's been in government for a really long time. I don't think that's a measure for intelligence, but I don't understand what he doesn't see. I don't get it. Yet that is, I mean, I'm not trying to piss on an 89-year-old dude or whatever, whatever it said. So I'm going to go, here. So we're going to move over to the Daily Caller for the social media manipulation portion of tonight's episode. Here we are moving into Act 2. Biden-Harris staffers reveal how they manipulated disinformation to hide Biden's mental decline from voters. This is the crux of the American coup story. This is from Juliana Fryman, who's a contributor. This is August 8th, 2024, so the end of last week. Zoom call videos following the 2020 election cycle show Biden-Harris staffers reveal how they manipulated disinformation to hide the Democratic candidate Joe Biden's cognitive decline from voters. Former Biden-Harris campaign digital director Rob Flattery, now presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris's deputy campaign manager, revealed that the Democratic National Committee created a program to detect, track, and have social media platforms flag misinformation narratives, including online discussions about Biden's mental fitness for public office. According to videos obtained by journalist Matt Ofrella, these videos shows a Zoom call Flattery conducted with Hope Not Hate, a UK-based activist group touting its mission of combating far-right extremism. The Zoom call took place on November 18th, 2020, according to a screenshot from Hope Not Hate's Twitter post. And here's the Twitter post right here. It's at ORF exclusive newly discovered Zoom recordings. The Biden-Harris team reveals how they manipulated voters into thinking Biden's mental decline was, quote, disinformation, unquote. Well, we all now know it's not disinformation. So what is this? What is this even fucking, what is this? Even, what is it? And it's just post after post after post of all these videos. The dailycaller.com, I'll have the link in the show notes if you want to look at these X or Twitter videos, posts, whatever. Flattery, who called the program, quote, one of the smartest things, unquote, for, I don't know, for what? What is the smartest thing for? Is it the smartest thing to mislead your base? Is it the smartest thing to mislead your voters? Is it the smartest thing to mislead the American public? Yes, all of the above. Orchestrated by the Democratic Party, was joined on the call by Timothy Durrigan. A Dem List news release from May 2021 said that he had been announced as the DNC's counter-disinformation program lead analyst in recent months. I can just shorten to this title: the DNC czar of disinformation. The Biden for President Director of Rapid Response, Rebecca Revenchik, who later became Biden administration's White House Deputy Director for Digital Strategy, also took part in the call. Revenchik said was a massive amount of disinformation floating relating to Biden's mental fortitude. So another way to write that sentence would be, Ravenchik said that there was a massive amount of people worried about Biden's mental fortitude. It clearly wasn't disinformation. It clearly wasn't. We all knew. We could all see. We all know. We knew. She explained that people making posts related to topics deemed disinformation were targeted real-time based on, quote, online behavioral cues, building out personas based on the kind of content they were consuming, what they were searching, and the kinds of websites they were visiting, unquote. She's one of these people, in certain light she looks okay, in other light she kind of looks like she smells like cabbage. Becca Ravenchik. Durgan took the helm of the program, and his reports were sent to the highest levels of the Biden campaign. According to Flattery, the program is still listed on the DNC's official website, and Durgan remains employed by the DNC going now on nigh 6 years. According to his LinkedIn page, he previously worked for a few months as a data visualization analyst on former Democratic nominee Hillary will kill 'em all Clinton in 2016's campaign. Ravinovich attributed at least 200,000 votes Biden received in the 2020 program to the 2020 program. 200,000 votes. What did we just read in the last article? What he won by 43,000 something. This Democratic, I'm not going back to reread, so just rewind it if you care, whatever, I don't know. Democratic president won the states of Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by less than that put together, according to the data collected by NPR from state officials. Aurelia appears to have taken a screenshot of the NPR's graph. The risk and the hit concern around mental acuity in particular went down by 8 points over the course of our campaign. So when he was running in 2020, I did a series of episodes about Joe Biden. I've already talked about it at length. I challenged him to a tic-tac-toe match. I don't know if you guys remember. He never responded, so I don't know. It probably got flagged by this program. Oh my God, this guy wants to challenge Biden to a tic-tac-toe match to prove how intellectually deficient he is. Biden announced his withdrawal from the 2024 election on July 21st after a weeks-long campaign spearheaded by top Democrats following his poor debate performance on June 27th that raised concerns regarding his cognitive ability. This came after the White House insisted that videos apparently of Biden freezing during a Juneteenth celebration and wandering off the Summit were, quote, cheap fakes, unquote. So all that really happened. He did freeze during the thing. He did wander off the G7 summit, and like the lady from Spain or Canada, somebody had to like help him, and they weren't cheap fakes. This was him actually fucking everything up. And this is not new. Everybody knew that he was just a dolt. He's a doddering old man. That has more hair than he had when he was 30. How did that happen? I used to call him plugs back in the day. When I did those episodes back in the day, we call them plugs. Now he's on the hair team for men. July 20th, 2021, Durgan, whatever his fucking name is, told the New Democrat Network in a Zoom interview that the big tech companies really hold these cards when it comes to what content disseminates on social media platforms. The NDN wrote at the time that Durgan runs the DNC's Countering Disinformation program in a post highlighting the interview. There's a reason why the hard right dominates Facebook, and it's because the way their system is oriented. They hold people's attention to keep them afraid and outraged. That kind of content moves to the top, and those then those publishers are incentivized to create more of it, create more of this propaganda. Durgan says Biden-Harris posters visible on the wall behind him. I mean, I'm not going to be arguing with this article all night either, but what? to keep their voters afraid and outraged? Oh my God. How many times have you heard Donald Trump is just like Hitler, and if he gets elected again, the world's going to end? I believe they're both guilty of that. And I think this guy is just a lying shitbag. This dude right here. The visualization director of information of the blah, blah, blah. Concerns regarding censorship of conservative political content under the guise of misinformation and disinformation, also malinformation, they forgot one, reached a fever pitch in October 2020, especially following the suppression of the New York Post's Hunter Biden laptop story by social media platforms. It wasn't just by social media platforms. It was by everybody. God damn it. That divine chick was the only person with balls to do it, according to Twitter and Facebook, which was later accepted as accurate reporting. Outrage intensified. I'm getting stuffed up all of a sudden. Outrage intensified when former President Donald J. Trump was banned either for a period of time or permanently across many social media platforms, including Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, following the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to finish here. We did an episode a while back where we featured an article by Seymour Hersh. And it was regarding, it was Joe Biden's Secret War. That was the name of the episode. It was regarding how we circumvented Congress and sent a bunch of, I don't know, probably Navy SEALs or CIA assets to bomb and destroy the Nord Stream pipeline. Seymour Hersh was all over it. He did this great article. So here we're going to be revisiting good old Cy Hersh. Leaving Las Vegas inside the last tortured days of the Biden campaign. July 27th, 2024. So we've... God, what is it? Okay, so in late 1967, as the Vietnam War was raging and President Lyndon B. Johnson was becoming increasingly unpopular, I was recruited to handle the press and to write speeches for Senator Eugene McCarthy of Minnesota, the only Democrat gutsy enough to run against the Democratic president. Months later, working around the clock in a cluttered suite in a New Hampshire motel, I was curious about a courier from New York who flew up most nights on the last Eastern Airlines flight. The courier would dash to the suite with a canvas bag attached to his wrist and turn it over to the campaign's richest and most enthusiastic benefactors. The guy was a multimillionaire who ran a major stock market fund, but he was happy to sit in a suite. I was then sharing with Richard Goodwin, a real political pro. Unlike me, the college brats on the campaign, and just watch and do the various errands that need to be doing. One night I asked the millionaire what was in the bag, and he threw it to me with a key, and I unlocked it, and I found myself staring at dozens of shiny packages of $100 bills. I had no idea then, now, whether these funds were properly reported, and I did not ask. So that's how this works, I thought. And I tossed the bag back, and I knew that I was not long for the world of presidential politics. It was not surprising that the long overdue unraveling of President Joe Biden's re-election campaign happened when it became impossible to keep his increasing impairment covered up. It was the big-time money backers, the Democratic Party, who called off the game to see no evil, hear no evil, after Biden's shocking performance in his June debate with DJT. They balked at continuing to give millions of dollars to the party now that there was evidence that the president is not always there. You'd think it would be a vigilant press corps led by New York Times or Washington Post or, I don't know, Woodward and Bernstein, who first broached the issue of Biden's impairment. Those papers missed the story. Their first significant report came in early June from the Wall Street Journal, whose consistently brilliant news section considered suspect by the Times and the Post, and many readers because of the paper's conservative editorial page. And the fact that it is part of Rupert Murdoch's News Corps broke the story on the front page under the headline, "Behind Closed Doors, Biden Shows Signs of Slipping." That was early June. The White House press office quickly responded that both of those quoted in the story were Republicans who are supporters of Trump. This strategy somehow worked. Fear of Trump took priority over doing the right thing. Ditto for CNN, MSNBC, whose panel on former White House officials often can be fun to watch, especially while chewing lots of cotton candy. Viewers of the equally biased Fox News undoubtedly had similar candy to crush. Who in Washington didn't know that Biden was failing? We all did, up to a point. I had learned months earlier from a federal officer that those in the front rows of university events where Biden was speaking were warned not to move if the president tripped while walking to the podium. Secret Service agents were on hand to pick him up immediately. There would be no front page photos of a college valedictorian helping the president climb to his feet. The American public could see Biden's slow decline. I mean, we've watched him fall asleep at functions. I mean, I don't know why everyone is so mystified by this. The Journal is fake. Everyone's fake mystified by this. That's the answer. Everyone's fake mystified and they don't want to tell the truth. The Journal, because we're living in clown world. We're in clown world, current year clown world. The Journal reported that nearly 3/4 of those polled thought Biden was too old to seek another term. Cabinet meetings in the past few years largely disappeared or turned into rote sessions, as recorded by the C-SPAN. The C-SPAN? Okay, that's cool. Which faithfully televised all the White House events. Biden would join the seated cabinet heads and read from prepared text from each page covered with a plastic sheet. It was far from vibrant television. Why is each page covered with a plastic sheet? Is they're afraid he's gonna drool on them? We can't have him drool on these papers and then have them go to the Smithsonian or the archives, or God forbid a Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. fucking presidential library. After the debate, there was mounting pressure on Biden to drop out, as the White House and the president himself denied that he was suffering from anything more than a bad day. I got a tummy ache. I want some ice cream. A cold and jet lag. Oh, they forgot to mention, Cy here forgot to mention that they first blamed it on the lighting. There are newspaper stories about Hunter Biden, the president's convicted son, keeping by his side and warning all White House staffers that anyone who even hinted at the truth would be fired. This message quickly was leaked to the press. Soon the White House press corps suddenly discovered that they were being misled by the president's press secretary. There were lots of torture questions and broken hearts, and the message was the same. The president is in good health and is going to run for re-election this fall and carry on serving for 4 more years after he defeats Trump. On Monday, July 15th, Biden took off on Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada, a toss-up state that Biden won in 2020 by a little more than 30,000 votes. On Tuesday, he gave the keynote address to 5,000 members of the NAACP at its annual convention. The next day, the president, apparently stricken while campaigning with a yet-to-be-revealed illness, broke away from his schedule and made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police that they were heading to the nearest emergency room. I think this is when he got COVID. Well, they say he got COVID. There's evidence to say that he had a stroke. I think another stroke. There's evidence to say that he had another stroke. A series of blog posts, local police reports, internet messages, and a report in the Daily Mail disclosed further details of the Biden's trip to Las Vegas and his abrupt return to his home in Delaware. This is when he went to his beach house, I think. I went over these reports this week with a senior official in Washington who helped me fashion an account of the White House in complete disarray, culminating in the president's withdrawal from the race. It's not a story unlike 7 Days in May, the Cold War thriller in which a colonel played by Kirk Douglas foils a coup by a general played by Burt Lancaster. None of what you read below comes from an official account by the White House. At that point, according to Emily Gooden, a Daily Mail reporter who was in the traveling press pool, the president was deathly pale. How could she tell? And Air Force One flew at a maximum speed to Delaware, where the president has a weekend retreat at Rehoboth Beach. The press pool was told that Biden had COVID. Nothing more was said on Air Force One. After Biden's return to Delaware, the White House told the public that Biden contracted a COVID infection and would be in isolation. I thought he was vaccinated. He was said to have upper respiratory systems, a runny nose, a cough, and was fatigued. Maybe that's what's happened to me. Maybe I got COVID again. That was the last straw for a core group of congressional leaders. Here's where the conspiracy creeps in, everybody. A literal conspiracy. Not the Freemasons or the Shriners or secret ancient aliens. It was the last straw for a core group of congressional leaders, government officials, and some senior Biden funders who were withholding huge amounts of committed contribution. There was a pressure on donors to come across on their pending commitments, but officials told me it was understood that Biden had a physical problem in Las Vegas, and the family was saying no to continued pressure from donors and the senior Democrats in Congress. Reid, i.e., Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, to withdraw from the presidential campaign. Initially, the president could not be reached. It was nappy time. Those words should never be typed. The president could not be reached. Like, it's his job to answer the fucking red phone when it rings, bro. By Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Hussein Obama was deeply involved, and there was talk that he would place a call to Biden. And it was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Vegas. The big three, the official said, referring to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries continued to be directly involved. On Sunday morning, the official told me, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others, the cabinet, to be unfit to carry out the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties." It was clear at this point, the official said, that he would get that she would get the nod, that is, the support to run for the presidency in the November election. But Obama also made it clear, the official said, that he was not going to immediately endorse her, but the group had decided that her work as prosecutor would help her deal with Trump in a debate. I believe they are going to be proven wrong. I don't believe that this is actually what happened. I think the reason Obama delayed his endorsement is because he wanted the primary situation to pan out. I believe that the counterpunch to this was Joe endorsing Kamala Harris. So they kick him out, and he's like, fine, well, you're going to now have to deal with this fucking problem. And he endorsed her. They don't politically have any other recourse but then to get behind her. And when she starts talking, she's ditching the press right now. She hasn't done a press conference. She hasn't answered any questions. And when she does, the fucking wheels are going to fall off. I'm not going to say that the press and the machine's not going to back her, but it's going to get crazy. It is going to get fucking crazy. You think this Tampon Tim situation is wild? You wait until she can start talking whatever she wants and answer questions on a teleprompter. It's going to be a fucking wild ride. One possible drawback, I was told, back to the article, was Harris's sometimes disdain for the work of the U.S. Intelligence Committee. She is known not to be especially interested in the president's daily brief, a highly classified summary of current intelligence that is prepared overnight by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and delivered by hand to the most vital offices in Washington, including the vice president. The documents, which include signals intelligence and can be read by the addressee in the presence of the delivering intelligence officer, was told that Harris often showed little interest in reading the document and at some points asked the agency to stop delivering it to her. This is Kramer wanting the junk mail to stop. This is like my third Seinfeld reference tonight. Now, as a presidential candidate, she is being kept up to date on all significant intelligence matters. The key factor in the decision to force Biden out of office by invoking the 25th Amendment was a series of increasingly negative polls on the president's standing against Trump. And that has been commissioned by the funders, the official said. The downward slope was increasing. Polling would also be important for the vice president. I was told it was agreed that if the polls did not continue to show gaining traction, other options would be considered, including an open convention. I was unable to learn if Harris was aware of such considerations when she intended to abide by them. Here we go. We're going to wrap this up. We're running a little bit long. Sorry about that. The office, who has decades of experience in fundraising, told me the Obama emerged as the strong man throughout the negotiations. And he had the agenda and he wanted to seek it through to the end. Sigh. He wanted to see it through to the end, I think is what he's trying to say. Maybe seek, maybe that's a, I don't know, like a fancy way to say it. I don't know. And he wanted to have control over who would be elected. The next few days after we talked with Harris getting off to a solid start, Obama and his wife announced their endorsement. Obama and his wife, Big Mike, announced their endorsement of Harris and told her over the phone in a staged TV event, it was clearly staged, that they would do all they could to campaign for her and to support her. But she better perform. All right, have a good week. See you guys soon. Bitch, you better perform. That's what I'm telling you. You better perform, bitch.
Are you interested in the occult, history, conspiracy, and violence? Learn more at Abracast.com and visit the storefront for tarot cards, merch, and books. Support the show. Get access to the show archive at subscribestar.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.